Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 70. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are regular, thank you as always for tuning in. As some of you might know, I've decided to expand the scope of the podcast this month by interviewing some undergraduate students who are the future of science in their respective disciplines. The main reason for doing this was that I found that at undergraduate level, science students mostly go through the motions of a degree but do not consider themselves scientists. The title is usually reserved for postgraduate students, professors, lecturers, or people who are already well established in their field of science. However, I believe that if you're involved in science at any level, you are a scientist. So that's why this month's You Are a Scientist interviews are so critical. I intend to amplify the voices of young Africans in STEM and remind them that they are an inspiration to many. From 2020, I've had the honor of mentoring 4 incredible young women from various STEM backgrounds in African countries. It's been a pleasure to learn from them as well as share my knowledge with them so that they can apply it uniquely in their lives. And that's what this episode is about. You get to hear 4 different stories from 4 different women in STEM. My first guest is Jane, a Nigerian medical student. She's in her 4th year, and we learned that she was inspired by a female family doctor prior to this. She's passionate about women's sexual health and aspires to be an ob-gyn. Jane describes herself as a jack of all trades because she's an aspiring businesswoman who dabbles in entrepreneurship, tech innovation, amongst other things. Let's take a listen. Hi, Jane. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne.
I am so excited to have you on. You know, this session is really special for me to have my wonderful ladies on. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. I'm actually excited to be here.
I'm so glad to hear that. So now, Jane, before we get things started, please just give us a brief introduction. Who is Jane? Where are you currently based? What are you currently doing? Just in brief.
All right. Okay. I'm Jane Igumasaka. I am 22 years old. I am Nigerian and a medical student, and I'm currently studying in Nigeria.
Okay, perfect. Short and sweet. I love it. Okay, so Jane, you mentioned to us that you are a medical student. And before we get into all of that, we're going to get into that a little bit later in the course of this interview. I wanted to find out, the beginning of the story. How does Jane, early young Jane, get exposed into this field of science? Was it something that you always aspired to do, or were there influenced who inspired you rather to get into this field?
All right. Okay. A number of things actually influenced my decision to go for medicine. First of all, let me state that my parents, none of my parents actually did science course. My dad is a lawyer, so he was not really into science, and my mom was not in science too. But growing up, we actually had a family doctor. She was so cool. And I don't know, I just sort of admired her. And I just had this stereotype in my head that, seems like medicine is actually for females. That was the stereotype I had. It was even when I grew up that I found that, it's actually male dominated. So I just had this feeling that, medicine is for females. But then over time, I think the, love for it actually grew more due to curiosity. I became very, very curious. I was like, oh my God, how are humans made? What's actually inside our body? I know that we have a heart, but where is it placed? Being young and having a lot of questions. So that kind of informed my earlier decision to go for medicine. But I think over time, having more perspective to life, I got to see other reasons why I should actually do medicine. So I think that's just the little influences that like the two things that influence my decision.
It's quite interesting that you said that for the longest time you thought medicine was for females, where some people, they only see a female like later on in life. So it just goes to show the importance of visibility, because you had visible role models of a female doctor and she was cool. So is that when you become a doctor, you want to be like her one day, like the cool female doctor?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, so now just to get into exactly what you're doing, you are a medical student. Just give us a brief in terms of what level you are, where you're currently studying, and then we'll take it from there.
I'm currently in 400 level and I study in Nigeria.
Yeah, so I know we've spoken about this off personally in our talkings, is that last year, because of the COVID things, you were kind of held back. What actually happened, for the people who don't know, if you don't mind sharing, and how has that kind of affected how you guys are studying right now?
Okay, so the COVID actually delayed a lot of things. Like for a very long time, we didn't have classes because we all had to go home. So if this lag, so it's almost as if we missed a year. So that was what actually happened. So online lectures can't really be compared to having physical classes. So immediately we resumed. We actually had tests, and we're currently having our classes and just trying to accelerate things, because what the COVID actually did was that instead of us moving to the next class, I think late last year, we are now kind of like still trying to cover things up from last year, and then it's kind of delayed.
Okay. No, I understand. So obviously COVID had a major influence in all of that, but you guys are making it through. So Jane, medicine is a very big field.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk to you, what are some of your favorite parts that you enjoy, and in future, what type of medicine do you want to specialize in?
Okay, so for my future aspirations, I think I would actually have interest in obstetrics and gynecology.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this kind of founded on my involvement in SRH activities, like sexual and reproductive health activities. I'm actually a sexual and reproductive health advocate, because just looking around, I've seen that there are a lot of things that actually, there are a lot of myths and a lot of controversies surrounding our sexual and reproductive health. First of all, it's not being like, people don't talk about it a lot. So, and it kind of has a lot of issues surrounding it of our life. It's actually a very vital aspect, but then people don't talk about it either from, societal norms and things like that. And I think that's kind of like giving a lot of issues, because a lot of people face like intense problems in these areas, but then because nobody talks about it, they don't even know what to do. And secondly, I don't know, I'm not trying to be biased or anything, but I feel females are mostly affected, because if you even check the cancers out there, you see that there are general cancers, but then there are still some cancers specific to just women. Like we have the cervical cancer, we have breast cancer and things like that. So you just see that women just sort of like have these medical issues. That's why they even have like a whole medical field dedicated to that, is the obstetrics and gynecology. So that was kind of like what founded my passion. So that's what I plan going
Oh,
forward.
no. And I'm sure you can already hear the enthusiasm that you have for this field. So it's really great that you have that sense of passion, I think, from the get-go. And when you establish yourself 20 years from now, we get to call you Dr. Jane, and you tell us that you've opened up your gynecology or your office. We'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember she said. So Jane, apart from you being a student, you are a very multifaceted young woman. And I just want us to talk about some of the things that you do away from the science. One thing that the first place that we're going to start, and then we can add from there, is that I know you are an incredible baker. You bake really great, yummy cakes. And if I was in Nigeria and if we could ship cakes, I would order so many times. So tell me more about some of these extramural activities that you do away from the science.
Okay. First of all, I believe in medicine that goes way beyond the bedside. So because of that, I try not to limit myself to just medical, just medicine. But I just have to make sure that I strike a balance so that no one suffers. But then I'm actually involved in quite a number of things, like you said earlier, baking. I'm actually a baker. I have a small cake business, Genoma Cake. Then I'm also tech savvy. Like I actually have a lot of interest in tech. Actually, I believe tech is the future. So I don't know, why not just get involved? So I am into tech too. Then I love finance and investment. So I do a little bit of finance and investment. Sometimes when I'm just, tired of reading my medical books, I could just take my phone, go through some financial news and charts, check the stock market. Yeah. Then what else do I do? Okay. I also do a little bit of photography, although I'm not so good in it. Then for the tech part, like I said earlier, I'm a data analyst and I do a little bit of graphics design. So that's what I actually do for now. Those are the little aspects. I actually tag myself as a jack of all trades because I'm a lot of things.
It sounds like it. And now somebody who's listening is like, how is she able to do all of this and balance medical school? So how?
Okay. First of all, I like to write. Like I write a lot. So part of my writings, I plan a lot of things. Like sometimes, I have notes, like notepads dedicated to these things. So if I have pending projects, like I'm currently working on a project now related to sexual and reproductive health. So things related to it, I could just pen it down that, okay, today I'm going to do a little bit of this. I will just write everything down to just arrange it. Then during my spare time or my free time, I actually do these things too. Like sometimes when I'm sometimes after being so saturated with reading books and things like that. So I'll take a little rest. Then before going back to read, I'll just, go over one of the other extracurricular activities I'm involved in. Then probably if I have a cake contract to execute, I'll just plan my day. I could just, because I do have a reading schedule. So sometimes I would just decide to maybe do ×2 of the work a day before, so that the next day I'm a bit freer in terms of my academic work. Then I just bake. So I think everything is just about planning and balancing.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I like how you've got that good balance of the school, the extramural activities, and it's pretty exciting to see where all of these amazing things that you do and how they will probably maybe one day interlink. So as we close off, Jane, hearing about your story, I wanted to ask you if somebody, the whole essence of this month is that to amplify your voices and to showcase to people that, hey, there are these really amazing young upcoming scientists in these various different science fields who are doing really amazing things. So, and to just show you that you are also an inspiration to somebody. So to somebody who's like, wow, one day I want to be like Jane, what would you tell them?
Okay. First of all, I'll tell them to actually decide what they want to do, know what they want to do, and just go for it. Because the thing is that nothing is impossible when you actually put your mind to it. And by God's grace, God will actually make everything work out. But what I believe is that when you actually put your mind to achieving something, our mind is actually very, very powerful. So when you just put your mind to achieve something, just go for it, put in the work, put in the prayers and everything. And by God's grace, everything will work out.
I love that. You combine, the shared determination and the prayer and the faith, which is really fantastic. Jane, it's been absolute pleasure having you on, for you sharing everything that you're about to do. I am so proud of you, and I wish you all of the best in every single aspect of what you do now and also in the future.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're absolutely welcome. And
second is Lidess. Lidess is from Malawi and graduated this year with a bachelor's in land management with a specialization in physical planning. In this episode, we learned that she wanted to be a nurse, but that didn't work out. And she's currently content with her current field of study. Aside from that, Lidess is an emerging entrepreneur who sews her own clothes and sells them to friends. All of this and so much more will be covered in this episode. Let's take a listen.
Hi, Lidess. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. So you are one of my mentees, and I'm really excited to have you on. But before we get started, please just give me a brief introduction. So who is Lidess? Where are you from? What are you currently doing in brief?
I'm so excited to have this meeting. Lidess is a Malawian lady. She's 24 years old. She studied Bachelor of Science in Land Management, and she's specified in physical planning. She's an entrepreneur. Yeah, that's all about Lidess.
Okay, fantastic. So you're a woman who wears many hats. Before we get into your role as an entrepreneur, I think it's very important for us to understand how you got into the world of STEM. So how did you get into this field of Bachelor of Science? Was it something that you always wanted to, or is this something that kind of just happened?
I was planning to be a nurse. I wanted to be a nurse. By then, I was redirected to a program of land management. So I got interested in the program, and I had to do some research. So yeah, that's how I got into land management.
That's quite interesting. So you wanted to be a nurse, and then you said that you got redirected. How did you get redirected? Was it no spaces available? What was the story?
Actually, it was the government who redirected. Procurers they used to redirect someone. I just found my name there. I just found my name.
Sorry, you applied for university, and then the government allocates where you are going to get placed.
Yeah. That was it.
Oh, that's quite interesting. Okay, so now you said that you did a bit of research, because I know we've spoken about this privately, that land management is not something that many people know. So when you got into it, how was that for you?
Actually, it was quite interesting to know that I can be a part of the change in this country, in our country, Malawi. Knowing that how our cities are planned, it's not what we see on TV out there. So I was really interested to be part of change in our cities and in our communities.
Oh, I love that answer. That's a very good answer, that you wanted to be the change. So you've recently just graduated. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, congratulations on your graduation. I know it was a little bit of a wait to get it, but eventually you did. So congrats on getting capped, and you are now a degree holder.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so what are the plans? Do you aspire to study further? Is academia something that you want to get into? I remember, or are you working? Tell us what the future plans are for you.
All right, and currently I'm doing internship at District Council, working as an acting lands officer. My future plans to do a master's related to my program, which involves planning which involves planning of cities and development control.
Apart from the studying, you mentioned that you're an entrepreneur, which is really great. That means you're more than just a science student, and I really love that. So tell us more. What businesses do you do, and how did that get started?
Okay, so after I finished school in Zuzu University in 2019, I had nothing to do. It was all about looking for jobs. Yeah, so I got myself into tailoring. Yeah, so I am now a tailor. Or it's something small, but we are into it. Yeah, so I also do an online business where I order things from Tanzania, things like clothes. That's all I do as an entrepreneur.
Okay, great. It's really great to see that you got creative, and even after you're done with your degree, you went on to pursue this alternative career, and you used your natural born gifts. So I commend you on that. Lidess, so the part of this whole month was to celebrate, young and upcoming people who are in the STEM field, who do more than STEM like yourself. So in closing, I wanted to ask you, for somebody who's listening, because you realize that you are an inspiration to other people. There are many people who do not have a degree. There are many people who wish to be where you are, who are ambitious, and they are doing things. So if somebody who's listening to you, what advice would you give to them about using your life as an example?
First of all, I would like to say that you have to accept that you can bring change to whatever situation that one is facing, and you have to know that you are the change, and there is no one who can do better things or more than you. So I can advise the one listening that hard work also and being the change can be the things that makes one to become who they are.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much for that wise words. And you're absolutely right. One has to be the change that you want to see in the world. And we loved having you on. I loved having you on and letting you share your story, and also just inspiring other young people. And I'm very proud of you. I wish you all of the best in all of your future endeavors, because I know that you're going to do some really amazing things.
All right. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Next is Ese. She's also a medical student in Nigeria. We learned that she actually wanted to be a journalist, but due to instability in the industry in Nigeria, she decided to change it. From her own lived experience, it inspired her to change her mind and become a medical doctor instead. Ese does many other activities while being a fourth-year student, such as volunteering, fashion designing, running a business, and so much more. We'll hear about all of this and her passions in this episode.
Hi, Ese. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Han. Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's always so special for me to chat to one of my mentees. So welcome. Please, may you just give us a brief introduction. So where you're from, where you're currently based, and what are you doing?
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Esoe Victoria Huomasebo. I live in Nigeria with my parents, but I school at Edo State in Nigeria. And I'm a medical student, fourth-year medical student. I'm pursuing my MBBS at the moment.
Okay, great. So good thing that we ended off on that note about you studying your medical degree. But before you were even a doctor, let's take it back to the beginning, right? Why did you decide to become a doctor? Was it something that you always wanted to do, or were there some people who you looked up to where you were like, this is the field that I want to enter?
Okay, well, I would say initially it was journalism for me. I wanted to be a journalist, but over here in Nigeria, the industry, it wasn't so stable, and like I could not really picture myself being there. And secondly, I started considering medicine while I was in junior secondary school out of passion for humanity. So I had this neighbor, daughter, her daughter died like during the process of delivery. She had a cesarean section. She lost so much blood, and I was so pained. I was like, something could have been done. It could have been better. She should have been alive. Like it was really bad. I felt so bad. I was crying. And secondly, my brother is also a huge inspiration. One of the reasons I decided to go into medicine. So he's more like a child to me, my younger brother. I grew up with him, like literally we grew up together, and he's asthmatic. Then it was always strange to me. Like I was trying to understand the concept. Like, what's the cause of this thing? He's in so much pain. Like I really can't do anything. He has to take his drugs before it gets stable and all of that. So I was really curious. I was like, well, if I should go into this thing, I would want to specialize in anything related to the respiratory system and all of that. But I think I lost interest in that one at the end of the day. But that was well, my passion just started from there. Basically, my neighbor's daughter that died.
That's so interesting. And I like how you used your lived experiences to kind of inform, where you want to be. And it's a pity that, the journalism thing didn't work out. But, everything happens for a reason, as they say, hey? Yeah. Everything happens for a reason. Okay, so now let's talk about you being a medical student. So you are in your fourth year now, right? So
yes.
Tell me more about this. When you say fourth year, what are some of the things that you do? Because I know that there's different things that people, that medical students do. And I think this is a good time for us to kind of elaborate. Why does it take so long? So now in your fourth year, what are some things that you're currently doing during this year?
Well, I would say medical school, first of all, it's like very tedious on its own. And the class I'm even in right now, the 400 level class, the stress level is so much that even combining other social aspects of life with med school, it's a bit difficult. It takes a lot of courage for you to do that. Well, aside medical school, I'm into event planning, Von Sapphire events. I do this alongside my friends, but we were even on hold for some time because of our exams. It was very difficult because we have to give maximum service to our clients, and we can't put their events at risk just for our own selfish reasons. So we are hoping that when we get free, we'll be able to kick off again. So I started this alongside my friends. That was last year. Von Sapphire Events is an event planning company. We manage events from the start to finish. And even aside that, I also volunteer with other organizations, non-profit organizations, the Medvocacy Initiative. I volunteered with this organization, and we talk about sexual and reproductive health, public health, and just to inform people about what they need to know about their health. And I also took so many programs. I'm a sexual and reproductive health advocate by God's grace, and also a domestic violence advocate. And aside medical school, what else? I'm into fashion. I'm a model, actually. I've I've always wanted to go into the modeling industry, but I really don't want to do some of this stuff I see some people doing out there. So I decided to model for my brand. So I'm more like a fashion stylist. We humans, most especially women, we have different body shape, different body contour. So depending on your body, I study you and I style you. So I'm a fashion stylist. I'm also a brand model. So that's it.
Wow. Wow, you do so many various things. And I would love to know, how do you get the time? Because initially you were saying that it's very hard for you to balance medical school and to balance all of your extramural activities, but yet you do so many things. So first of all, how do you get the time, and why are you so passionate to do more than just being a medical student?
Okay, so first of all, it's more like it's not so easy combining these things, like doing all of them at once. But how I started, for me, I started with my talent because I'm more of a talker. I didn't mention this initially. I'm a talker. I talk a lot. So I decided to channel this into the right direction. So I decided to go into public speaking. I started from there before thinking of event planning. So I tend to host some events. I started with church events, children events, and all of that. So I started with public speaking. I channeled my energy into this first of all. So whenever I have any random event, I always go for it and host the show just like that. Then the volunteering, most of them, I do it online, so it's not so much of a big stress to me. So, for example, there's one I'm volunteering for now at the moment. That's for the eradication of malaria. World Malaria Day, that's April 24th. So it's towards the eradication of malaria. So it's an online event, but all we have to do is, we don't do so much. Just we plan everything online, then come out, go in masses to different villages, tell them about malaria and give them drugs. So it's not like very, very tedious. The only one I have issues with at the moment is the event planning. But after this class, the class I'm actually in, called Pattern from class. After this class, I intend to kick off fully. So that's how I do.
Why? So why do you do all that you do? Why not just be a medical?
So personally, I don't believe in having one streamline of income. I believe in having multiple streams. And if I now what I want to do, women that victims of this, going to help them. It's going to be a non-profit organization, so I'll be needing money. I'm going to be helping children that are sexually abused. I'll be needing money. And I don't really feel medicine alone is going to give me the kind of money I need. And I believe I'm more of a jack of all trades, but I take it one at a time. So I believe I should be able to handle this, and do it. And there's just so many passion. I can't just limit myself to medicine alone.
No, I understand. And it's very inspiring to hear you that you are this multifaceted, or rather jack of all trades woman. It's really inspiring. So then this goes on to the next question. Where do you see yourself? What are your future aspirations after you qualify with all of these many traits that you do? Where do you see yourself in the future? What are some of your hopes and dreams?
Okay, well, there are very many, but I'm going to mention the ones I can. So personally, like I said, I intend to start a non-profit organization to help women and children, victims of domestic violence, basically, because I believe I was once a victim, and I know the psychological impact it has on these children. It's really terrible. It affects them mentally, physically, relationship-wise. They have a lot of troubles. So I would want to start a non-profit organization to help these children, most especially, and women that are victims of domestic violence. So I see myself doing that in a few years from now. I can very, very soon. And also, I intend on leaving Nigeria by God's grace, leaving this country and meeting people outside, talk to more people, like get to know people. And how will I put it? I feel it's going to broaden my horizon. I want to do so many things, work in UN and do, because if I should start a non-profit organization, I have to pitch my ideas to people, and I can't just do this in Nigeria. So I have intentions, I have plans to leave this country as a whole, like leave, not like I'm abandoning them. Yeah, I'm not like, but for futuristic purposes, like I have plans on living. And also my fashion line as well. I also have plans to start. I've started already, but to build it and take it to the next level, more like the next Victoria's Secret even.
Wow, I like that. That's really great. Oh my gosh, fantastic. Just listening to hear you speak, you can tell how ambitious you are, how driven you are, and how motivated you are to achieve all of your dreams, which is absolutely amazing. And it gives me such pride, and I'm really proud of you with everything that you do. There needs to be more people who are wanting to be the change in their field and in their communities. So kudos to that. And I think this is why it's so important that I did this and I brought you guys on, because I want to amplify that there is somebody who's doing this. Maybe somebody might be listening and might want to connect, or somebody's listening to your story and they're like, wow, I'm so inspired by this woman who's doing all of these amazing things. So as we close off, I just wanted to ask you, what would you say to somebody who's listening and is motivated and inspired by everything that you do? What advice would you give them? In your best motivational speaker. In your best motivational speaker words.
Okay, well, I would like to say that you can always do whatever you set your mind to do, no matter what. Like, no matter how big it may seem, all you have to do is start. All you have to do is start. Just start from somewhere. Just brace yourself up and start from somewhere. It doesn't really take much. Most times you get these elements of discouragement, like, can I really do it? Am I that good enough? But you tend to grow. That's one thing. Growth is a continuous process. So all you have to do is start. So whatever you set your mind to do, you can always do it. You can always achieve that. All you have to do is start, kick off, and that is it.
I love that. Starting is always the best place. I think that's the thing that always limits people. And you have shown us that you just start and you don't think about the limitations, but you aspire all of your dreams and your passions. And it was such a pleasure hearing about everything that you do. And I hope your story motivates somebody that even at a young age, you are able to be whoever you want to be and to aspire to be all of those things. So thank you so much. I wish you all of the best now and in future with all of your organizations and your Victoria's Secret, inverted commas, fashion line. Your Victoria's Secret fashion line.
Thank you very much, Han, for having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on.
Last but certainly not least is Patricia. She's from Cameroon. Like many young Africans, she wanted to become a doctor, but instead pursued a career in petroleum engineering. She's now an MSc student in engineering, as well as a physics and maths tutor. She's clearly passionate about empowering the youth in her community. She discusses pursuing her dream and her future goals in this episode. Let's go. Hi, Patricia. Welcome to the show. It's a great pleasure to have you on with so much bias. I'm really excited. We're going to talk about it because you're one of my mentees, and this is a special episode with just my mentees. So I really can't wait to chat with you and find out more about you. But before we get there, I want you to please introduce yourself to the guests. So where are you from? Where are you currently based? What are you doing? Just in brief.
So, I saw Patricia Ambe. I'm a Cameroonian hailing from the northwest, and I'm in Douala, the economic capital of Cameroon. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be in this program. Like, I'm longing to want to to have this chat, this discussion. So I'll be able to take it out there, make everyone to be able to hear my little story or my dream or my vision. Yeah.
All right, fantastic, Patricia. It's really great to have you chatting with me this evening. So you mentioned that you want everybody to hear your story. So let's start from the beginning. When Patricia was young, how did she get into this field of science? Was it something that you always wanted to do, or was it something that, you know, there were people who you looked up to and you're like, this is something that I want to do, or was this a completely different career choice?
That's one interesting question. You know, growing up, every child, I'm sure I heard it from one podcast or I heard it from someone, that every child will always want to, ask every little child will always tell you, oh, I want to become a medical doctor. I want to become a medical doctor. So it was the same thing with me. I was like, okay, that was a field or the profession that was common for everyone. So I also just joined the line. I said, I want to become a medical doctor because everyone has been saying that. So until I got to school, my primary, secondary education, and because I was one of the smart kids in class, and I didn't even have the opportunity to choose for myself. Oh, my science teacher say, this child, you're very smart. You're very smart. You're supposed to be in the science class or in the science field. Like, there was no way that I could even, if I had the opportunity to say, no, I don't want to do science, like everybody would have just beaten me up. So that was how I found myself in the science class, because first of all, I was pushed to do science by people who thought, my teachers who thought they knew better, like what they see in me, I'm not able to see that for myself. And it was just later on in the journey that I got to love the whole science field. So when I got to Form 3, Form 4, I was the top of the class. I was among the top of the class. And my principal would always tell me, oh, this child, you're going to fulfill my dream, because he wanted to become a petroleum engineer. And so that was where it started.
Wow, okay.
He said, oh, you're going to do what I was not able to do. You're going to lift the flag up. Okay. So that was where I got another profession that, there's something like an engineer that exists. So I got it from there that, okay. So my principal that I believe in, because I believe so much in my principal, it was like, I respect him. I thought, okay, my principal wants me to become a petroleum engineer. Okay. Now let me see how this looks like. So right up to secondary, I was just running with it because my principal asked me. I didn't actually have something passionate that I really wanted to do. Until I got to my university, first in the university, that things actually changed. Like now I had a broad mind on the whole thing. Like I saw so many problems back in year 1. I saw so many challenges. Like I kept hearing stories of, it's always difficult in Cameroon. People don't get jobs. The petroleum industry, it's very difficult. It's not developed. It's still lacking. And that was where the passion, like the desire to want to make a change. That's what I could say. The desire to want to make a change. That's where it started. And I picked up with it, and I've just fallen in love with the whole thing. And up till now, despite the odds, I'm there. I'll see to the end. I'll have to see this change. So that's my little story.
Wow, that's so interesting. It's quite interesting. You said that you had people tell you, that, okay, this is something that you should try. And then
Do you think that that had a huge effect on you? That maybe you would have chosen another degree or you would have chosen something else if you didn't have these people telling you, and I'm saying this in inverted commas, what you should do and who you should be? If looking back now, if you didn't have these influences, do you think you'd still pick what you've picked now?
Now, going back to the doctor, being a doctor that I would have always said, or that I always said I wanted to become, later on that I grew up, I saw that, just the sight of blood would cause me to vomit. Like, I don't know, I don't think I can handle that field. So any other field that I thought maybe I would have loved to know. I think maybe God just worked everything out by bringing these people to gear me to what would have just been ideal for me. I've not yet found any other field that really fascinates me the way they put all the technological field or the engineering field.
That's quite interesting. Okay, so we've learned now that you went and you pursued this degree and you've got it. But like with many people, sometimes it doesn't necessarily go as planned. So talk to me in terms of how now you ended up being a teacher instead of going in terms of this vision that I'm sure you had of where you wanted to be.
Okay, that's a good question. A reason why I'm still in the field. Now, back in my university days, year one, our lecturers or our teachers will always tell us that, women are not supposed to, or women will not go to the rig. Women cannot work in the rig. Women cannot work offshore. It's very difficult. We're almost just wasting our time here, that we'll just have to look for one other area to dwell in. Yeah, when people always kept saying that, and they would tell us that out there was this need, saw the need, first of all, that the petroleum industry, there was this need for manpower, there was this need for experts, because most often you see operations that will be carried out here, they'll have to go and take engineers from outside, pay them a huge sum of money, whereas there are actually people here in Cameroon that would have done it just because they are not trained, just because of this lack, they are not able to occupy those positions. So that was part of the reason that kept me going, that like, I have to make a change. I have to change the story. If this is what people think, I'm going to turn the story around. Now, going back to the question you asked about me in the petroleum field and how do I find myself in, that's just to add, or to, let me just deviate a little, that in my country, there is always this belief, or this, before one could get to a particular level, you would have to do some kind of play games with people before you get there. So it's been really difficult. I've not been able to have the opportunity to serve. Even after leaving school, I tried applying, I tried doing even voluntary service, I tried, like, after everything I have learned, let me be able to apply it to get to that level, the opportunity to serve. And that did not discourage me at all, because the more I get these difficulties, the more I kept like insisting that I will not stop. I'll have to change the story. So I just said, okay, to keep me going, let me get something doing. That's how I got into the teaching field, where I'm teaching physics and math. And even with that, I have not stopped, because I said, even with the teaching, I can still continue with my dream from somewhere. And that's how I got into creating this little group, or I have the set of students that I've discovered some talents in them, because my original idea, or the whole idea, was to be able to become an expert so that I'll be able to train others that could be able to go out there and make the change. Now, if I'm not able to deliver, if I'm not able to serve, if the society or the economy have not given me the opportunity to serve, let me start from the little. I'm going to get the opportunity to do what I actually love.
Wow, that just gives me so much goosebumps, and it just makes me so proud of you that you are not a victim of your circumstance, and that although, we all have a plan, right? We all have an idea that we want to do X, Y, Z, but sometimes life happens, and I'm really proud of you that you did not become a victim and you decided to do something to uplift people while you are in that particular space. So just before we wrap up and whatnot, I just want to ask you, now with where you are, I know sometimes we've chatted about this off air, that you sometimes feel a bit under pressure, that you're not where you want to be. But in a perfect world, where do you aspire to be? And how do you motivate yourself? Or are there particular people who motivate you to still kind of stick to your vision, even though it's a little bit delayed?
The big dream has always been to own a Rig 17 company and to be able to have a training center where I'm able to, in different expertise, to be able to have a house or a center where I encourage youth, like I bring them up at the point where maybe they didn't even know that they had those talents. I explore, like I bring out the talent, have this house of talents where we explore the different things, the different insights that students have got, to bring it out to the limelight, even things, especially in youths, the younger ones, because most often they're often being neglected. That's why I always say that God brought me in this, or God just let this happen, that I had to pass through this teaching field so I could experience some things. I've come in contact with some really interesting youths that are really talented. And I saw the need that they need this platform where you can be able to harness this talent from them, because my country is in need of this talents in young youths that have not yet been explored. So the original dream was to have a Rig 17 company and a house for talents where I can be able to train, where I can be able to bring people to expertise by not solely training this youth, by bringing others as well from other experts that could impart their knowledge, their know-how on these youths or assets.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I love to hear it, that you're starting small, and who knows where you'll be in 20 years time. Just the question, do you want to continue to study? Or are you kind of good with where you are right now?
I'm pursuing my master's in engineering. I think it's going to come very handy for where I'm going.
Amazing. That's great.
So yes, I'm going to need this to be able to know how to manage the project that I have ahead of. Right now, I'm not where I want to be, but it's a process. I'm getting to where I have to be.
Yeah, that's great. You are well on your way there. And, I am very proud of you. I'm very proud to see where you'll go. And most importantly, I just love the work that you're doing with the younger youth, because you yourself are an inspiration. They see a scientist when they look at you, or a teacher, or a person who's a physicist or a mathematician or an engineer. So never forget that you are that person to those people, even though you think right now, oh no, you still have a long way to go. But trust me, you've come very, very far. So I just want to say that never forget that. Don't forget your power and the impact that you have and that you will continue to have. So thank you so much for coming on today and chatting with me. I had a really great time.
Okay, it was nice chatting with you. That's fine.
Oh, great. All right.
And that concludes today's conversation. I hope you enjoyed this episode, in which you heard the stories of 4 future leaders from Africa in the STEM field. I'm so proud of each of them because their stories are so unique to them, and I hope that they inspire someone. From your girl, Anne with an E, until next time, goodbye.